Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalists. Before I go on with the video, remember, we are in very complicated times, guys. The escalation of the war in Ukraine is, throwing us into uncharted waters. Yeah, giving the image right now. So prepare while you still can. You have my books available in Amazon, following the links below. 3 survival skills for the practical aspects of survival preparedness, surviving the economic collapse based on my experience in Argentina, and a lot of that, what you're seeing right now in terms of inflation, in terms of prices that are changing the way you live, throwing a huge part of the population into poverty. How is it you prepare for that? I wrote a book dedicated to that specific kind of event in surviving the economic collapse based on my experience in Argentina. Now, what you've been told right now is that there's been an explosion in the Nord Stream pipeline, and if you listen to Fox News, which apparently, you would expect most of the conservative Americans to do that, what you're listening is stuff like this.
According to the Canadian ambassador to the UN, Vladimir Putin has decided to use, quote, pollution as an act of war. Progressive Twitter strongly endorsed this.
It's not pollution that Vladimir Putin is as a weapon. What he's using is energy. Pollution is just, a smoke screen. Very clever by Tucker Carlson, but it's not about pollution. It's about energy. And Russia has promised that that Europe would freeze in winter. This is what Russia said, and this is what they're obviously doing.
Conclusion. Putin did it. And that makes sense until you thought about it for just a moment. Vladimir Putin.
Really? Have you thought about it? Okay.
Putin may be evil. They tell us that he is evil. But is he stupid? Probably isn't stupid. And yet, and here's the strange part, if you are Vladimir Putin, you would have to be a suicidal moron to blow up your own energy pipelines. That's the one thing you would never do.
No, and I'll explain why that is exactly the case. I'll explain to you why Tucker Carlson is lying through his teeth, and he's just repeating what his masters over in Russia told him to say. If you go right now to RT News, which you probably cannot, but if you go right now to RT News, there's a little side note here. Russia tells EU to treat US as a pipeline sabotage suspect. I mean, if this was really the case, if it was really the case that, as Tucker says, Russia just attacked, U.S. just attacked a main asset that belongs to Russia, wouldn't that be on the front cover of the news everywhere in Russia? I mean, how great would this be for Putin to put it in the front of all news, in the front page of all the media that they have? Look, we're being attacked by the United States. Look at what they're doing. No, it's a little side note. And you know why that is? Because of what this man is not telling you. And what he's not telling you is what you can hear from the media in Germany, which is over here.
Last for at least another week. And only then can investigations begin.
Earlier, we spoke to Tor Ivar Strømmen from the Royal Norwegian Naval Academy. I asked him if there was any evidence of sabotage on the Nord Stream pipelines.
First of all, the distance between the leaks and that there were explosions near the pipelines and so on, both indicates that this is not a accident. This is something which was planned and conducted by humans in order to destruct those pipelines.
Okay, so yes, we established that this was in fact an attack. Now, why is it that this happened? Why is it that Russia decided to blow up their own pipeline? Why would they do that? They can just shut it off, right? No, it's not that simple. You cannot just say, yes, I refuse to give energy to Europe, freeze to death, you bastards, I'll just shut it off. No, they couldn't do that.
I would not say conduct such an operation.
Is there any indication as to who might be behind the attacks, if that's what they were?
I would not say indications, but it's highly likely, in my opinion, that it's Russia, basically for 2 reasons. One is that this is a way to make sure that they cannot be pressured in any way to deliver gas to Nord Stream to Germany again. They have obligations, legal obligations to provide gas.
That's the key. They have legal obligations to provide gas. This is something that you're not being told by our buddy here, /trader Tucker. they have an obligation to provide gas. These are very serious international agreements that if you breach them, if you break them, you put yourself in a position where other companies, financial groups, even countries cannot do business with you anymore. You become a pariah state. This is kind of thing that North Korea has done in the past. And when you steal stuff from other countries, when you breach international agreements, you're putting yourself in a position that even if people that don't give a damn about how many Ukrainians die, how many Russians die, people and countries and other nations that don't give a damn about any of that, because you become a pariah state and you've broken those international contracts and agreements, you cannot do business with them anymore. This is why Russia, even though Putin goes on air saying Europe will freeze to death, that's what he says, but what he says in paper, in writing, legally, is that they're not providing gas because they're doing maintenance, because they had problems with the grid. They've been pushing for this for months now, claiming different excuses, but never saying, we're just shutting it down because we want you to freeze to death. They cannot do that without breaching the contracts that would make them a pariah state and cut a lot of the funding and business that they are currently doing right now and they wish to continue doing in the future. So what they're doing right now is saying, well, they've ran out of time. You have this is all written in their own contracts, all of these very complex agreements. You can push it up to a point. You can do maintenance up to a point. You can have bullshit excuses, but eventually you have to fulfill that contract. Now, when they blow it up, this was sabotage. This is beyond our hands. It just blew up. And even though we physically would love to provide energy and gas to Europe, we just can't. So the contract was not breached. This is the exact same thing you see Russia doing when they do a bullshit referendum. This is the kind of thing that it's not only about legal stance, it's also about propaganda. People like Tucker Carlson can go on air and say, hey, they had a referendum, they voted, their voting was probably cleaner than our own. Remember when they stole the election? The one in Russia was probably a lot better than our own. Those damn Democrats. So yes, those people voted to be Russians, so it's Russia, and they have a right to use those people as cannon fodder. You have a right to invade and take over the land because it's now been annexed, legally so. This is all important. Even though you kill thousands of people to invade and take over the land, having a legal stance to stand on is still important.
They have now stopped providing that gas to first saying that they have also delay in maintenance of some turbines and pump systems. Then from August on, with reference to maintenance of the gas lines, and now they have been destroyed, so they cannot deliver, which makes them look innocent, but still they are behind it. So they don't say that they are using energy as a weapon, but they are really doing it. And everyone knows, but as long as they don't say it, it disguises what they are actually doing. So when they are also the other part of it is the great power competition and the great strategic point of it. As Russia only have two really powerful tools to influence its negotiation position versus the West, versus Ukraine, and so on. Those are military power, which have failed to a large degree, and it's energy.
So the energy was always a weapon. Russia has said that Europe will freeze during winter, even though it will not happen. But this was the plan all along. And as soon as the military aspect started failing, as soon as he saw people running out of his own country, like we saw thousands and thousands, about 60,000 Russians have escaped Russia just so as to not be thrown in the front line against Ukrainian forces, then boom, there they go. We really cannot provide any energy. We haven't done so up until now, and we won't be, breaching any contract because this is an agreement that we had, an international agreement. But nope, it just cannot be done because U.S. Hey, our buddy Tucker will help us out. Yes, it was America, right? It was that terrorist nation, United States, attacking their ally Europe in the middle of a war. Yes, of course, Tucker, it was. Just go and
Natural
do your
gas pipe.
thing and bullshit Americans through your teeth. You're very good at it, and you probably will convince a few. Anyway, guys, this is why Russia blew up the pipeline. They just want a way of pretending that they would gladly keep on providing the gas as they are legally obligated to do. It's just not possible right now. In the same way, they do other bullshit with the same strategy in mind. Guys, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You do have my books if you want more information and as to be prepared for what's coming while you still can. See you on the next video.